Okay, beautiful. Hi, guys. It's Dr. Keely DuBois, and welcome to my new show, Sex Without the Lies. A little bit about me before we go into I'm an experiential psychologist based out of San Francisco, California. I have been a sexologist for nearly 2 decades, and I've written numerous books on psychology of persuasion and sex. I travel the world teaching hypnosis for sexual purposes for over 20 years. So I've been around the block, and I was asked to do this show. And today we're going to talk about some scams that have been running all over the internet, including our beloved FetLife. Okay, so this is my first ever show using this software. So bear with me as we learn how to use this. So if it breaks or if something happens, just keep watching. I'm going to figure it out. Okay. So, first of all, this is really interesting to me. Okay. This is very sorry. I'm having to read things from my staff as I am talking to you. Okay. So, first off, I'm so happy to be here. I think it's really cool that I'm finally doing this show. I've been writing a lot on Substack and Medium for about 3 years. I was shadow banned from Medium, and I did address it with them. And it was because we started this new platform on men's rights. Okay. And we started writing some content pieces, and all of a sudden, I'm not getting any new subscribers. And I was like, well, that's really strange. And so I just want you guys to say, thank you for being there with me over this time as I switch over to Substack. Okay. So I want to talk about some shit that happened last weekend that made me say, all right, fuck it, let's talk. And I posted this on Discord, on Medium. So my buddy, he's a smart guy. He's not desperate. He gets catfished into going to a so-called sex party advertised on FetLife. Okay. Pays money. He shows up and nobody's there. There's no hostess, no crowd, no party. Okay. And this is where we're at in 2026. Guys losing cash, chasing fake fantasies. So here's what happened, okay? Here's what happened. He scrolls FetLife, like the events section, and sees a hot promo. Sexy pics, hype language, exclusive event. He pays his cover, drives all the way there, and nothing. Just him, an empty door, and the realization he walked straight into a scam. You think you're going to get laid. You end up getting played. And this isn't some one-off glitch. Online scams are everywhere. People get ripped off by fake events all the time. Fake festivals, fake concerts, fake parties you pay for, and nothing happens. And I hate to break it to you, but sex fantasies sell. People pay money, get no event, no crowd, no sex. Just a lesson how much hope costs. And before you judge, let's be real. Dating in 2026 sucks for a lot of guys. Some dudes can barely get a real date, let alone a hookup. So when you see a sex party with expectations of instant action, that hits a nerve. It's like catnip for the lonely and horny. Okay. Now, let's break the social narrative apart, because most they think every woman's dying to jump in on a random party with 20 dudes. Okay. Reality check. It's not like that. It's not like that. Women don't want to jump into a random sex party with 20 dudes. Okay, let's talk numbers. Let's talk numbers. Only a small slice of adults in the US ever engage in swinging or lifestyle parties. Okay, I went and did the research. It's literally roughly 3 to 7% of the population involved in any form of consensual non monogamy. 3 to 7% of the population. And these are the poly people. 3 to 7%. It's really small. Within that, the gender split is fairly close. Okay. So the research showed female participants make up about 45% of the swinger community, with men at about 55%. So most of these participants are in committed relationships or couples, and that's about 70%. Solo women at random sex events are a minority. Most women in the lifestyle participate as part of couples or carefully vetted social groups, not dropping into a room full of strange men off some FetLife ad. And get this, this is really important. When actual survey research asked people whether they personally engage in open or non monogamous sex, the real numbers were small compared to the hype. So most adults, even in liberal 2026, stay monogamous or never go to these events. So the idea that there is some army of women just waiting to show up everywhere, every sex club, I mean, that's a fantasy, not a demographic reality. And let's get this straight. Real swinger parties aren't backyard gangbangs in a Motel 6 advertised on FetLife. And they're not going to be marketed online. Okay. Real lifestyle gatherings are invite only, vetted, mostly couples, are organized around consent and community norms, often aren't happening every weekend like ads make you think. You don't just show up, pay $50, and expect a buffet of random bodies. That's now how most actual events run, okay? And let's talk about the cultural truth here. When guys show up expecting entitlement, like paying means sex, that's the real ick. Women in these scenes want to feel seen, safe, respected, and in control of their choices. I mean, that's why they're choosing polyamory, non monogamy in the first place, is to have agency, to be able to say no, okay, and go with someone else, to have options, to have self authority. So, why would we expect that paying means I'm going to get my hand jacked, you know? It doesn't mean sex, okay? When you treat it like a vending machine, money in, sex out, you just end up empty handed and embarrassed, okay? So you really got to look at the social norms when it comes to these communities before you actually go and visit a sex party. So, what happened to my buddy? What happened to him? Okay, he got scammed. And it's not because women don't participate in sex parties. It's because the kind of wild, random hookup fantasy being advertised really don't reflect reality. Most women who actually engage in these communities do it on their terms, not because they're hawking a fake event online, hoping some guy will fail for it, right? So if you want real intimacy, build something real. Don't chase illusions dressed up in these fetish ads. And this is sex without the lies. You have been warned, okay? Now, I want to go into something even deeper. And this is something that I've been thinking about because I was like, look, there has to be a way. There has to be a way, really? So if I were a 30-year-old guy throwing a real sex party, first of all, I'd probably read this book, The Ethical Slut. Okay, very good book, probably the first one to ever approach the idea of polyamory. But let's be clear. Most guys thinking about throwing a sex party are delusional. They imagine orgies. They imagine women showing up hot, horny, and ready. They forget that women don't walk into dick dens without a damn good reason. So let's fix that. Let's actually go through the steps of what I think it would be like to throw this sex party. If you were just a regular 30-year-old guy, okay? Step one, know what you're really building. You're not throwing a sex party. You're building a trust-based social system where women feel safe, sexy, and in control. But you're the nucleus that energy spins around, okay? This means that women come because other women they trust are going. Men only attend if vetted, social, and non-creepy. No one wants to be the only one fucking while others watch like predators. The party is the byproduct. What you're really doing is designing an erotic ecosystem. Now, let's talk about the Power Exchange, the sex club in San Francisco. I've been many times. You walk through the door, you pay your fee, they take your phone, right? And you know what's there? Creepy people, predators watching you. It's all voyeurs, no one doing anything. Okay. Years. I've been going years, and this is what I see. So, how do we make this different? We need that trust based social system. Okay. Women come because other women they trust are going. So, this is what to study. Okay. And I'm going to tell you what to study to build your brain, not just your balls. I'm going to give you a library here in a moment. Besides The Ethical Slut, I really think you should read a few other books. Influence by Robert Cialdini, Models by Mark Manson. It's a really good ground book on attraction that focuses on authenticity, and you'll need that when inviting real women, okay? Mating in Captivity by Esther Pearl, learning how real women maintain erotic energy. It's not by watching porn with dudes in hoodies. The Art of Seduction, of course, by Robert Greene. And that's just your basic textbook, okay? Now, I want you to really consider for a moment step 2, which is to build the social graph first. Before you throw any sex party, I want you to build your circle. Start dating high-quality women that have a wild side. Treat them well, give them freedom, and don't be needy. Slowly let them know you're exploring non-traditional experiences. If they're solid, they'll invite their hot friends who are curious too. I always say go out and date strippers. There's a lot of PUA products on that. Okay? This is network seduction. Think social capital with sexual undertones. Most successful sex parties don't start from flyers. They don't start from a person putting their Cash App in their bio, okay? They start from girls texting their girlfriends. Maybe they say like, he's cool, he's safe, he's good and bad, whatever it might be. But it's girls pulling in girls, okay? The next step is to host these events very regularly and to host events that aren't about sex. You never start with an orgy. You start with like private rooftop wine tasting, sensory games, maybe some tantric meditation circles, play parties with clear boundaries. You build anticipation and friendship over time. Trust. Erotic energy is like heat. You simmer and then you boil, right? Let people want more than they got. It's really important to develop a social network that doesn't start with sex. And the next one is day game and natural ecosystems. And the person who actually pulls this off, well, they're not on forums all day jerking off to PUA content. They're not. They're doing real game, approaching women in real life, like walk-ups in Starbucks, in grocery stores, at the mall. They're developing confidence through social feedback and then they self correct. They're actually aware, they're self conscious of their behaviors. And they'll course correct a negative behavior, not by becoming a victim, but by saying, oh my God, I didn't get the response I wanted to. So let's take a step back. No, there's no failure. There's only feedback. I love that presupposition, by the way. And look at the fucking behavior I just did to get the response I got. And let's tweak the behavior because I only have control over myself. I don't have control over that girl or that girl or that girl. Maybe what I'll do is I'll fix my fucking self, right? So you want to develop confidence through your own feedback. Dating multiple women in rotation also works who know about each other. But again, you need to have the first girl, right? So these guys, I'm going to tell you, who are these guys that get multiple girls who get orgies naturally? Well, they go to the gym, they look good naked. Okay, let's just start there. Let's cut the bullshit. They don't have a bulge over their dick. They're not coming up with excuses not to go to the gym. They have a sense of humor. They take care of themselves. Maybe they actually have an income. They're not living at home with mommy or daddy. They're not coming up with all the excuses of why the economy fucked them in the ass. Okay, they host things like barbecues, picnics, weekend beach getaways, and they don't make sex the goal. Connection is the goal, and sex becomes inevitable. So the real sex party is one where the girl you're dating says, hey, my friend thinks you're hot. Is it okay if we bring her into the next experience? Right? It's not this idea of like this, okay? So you don't plan orgies, you create the conditions for them to happen. So my final thought is not about sex. It's about being the guy women want to fuck around. Okay? If you're thinking, how do I make women do this? You're already fucked. Okay? I want you to ask yourself instead, how do I create an experience so unique and safe and playful that they want to keep coming back? That's the question to ask yourself. How do I create an experience so unique and safe and playful that they want to keep coming back? Now, you can keep on going and looking through all the scams of FetLife, or you can actually work on self, develop that charisma that naturally attracts, okay? Because I think this is so important. Otherwise, you're going to be playing the game. Not to say that there's not a social illness. There is a social illness going on. And I think that perhaps we should talk about that. Why are people jumping into high intense sex parties at such a young age off FetLife? Like my buddy's only 32, because if you look at the demographic of swingers, they're usually 35 and older, right? It's married couples looking to expand and explore that have addressed their sexual inhibitions. But why are young men going now? And no, it's not a sexual fantasy of, oh, maybe someone will teach me how to fuck. It's kind of something deeper than that, right? And let's talk about that for a moment before I end up ending this show today. I wrote a post a few months back about sex parties, perhaps a sign of a diseased culture, right? Are they? Are sex parties a sign of a diseased culture? Well, let's just say this. Sex parties aren't the cause of our cultural rot. They're the symptom. They're what happens when people are desperate, disconnected, and drowning in dopamine. We're not talking about ancient sex rituals. We're not talking about conscious sexuality, trust, or intimacy. We're talking about porn-fueled expectation, zero relational skills, emotional disconnection, people chasing novelty because they can't feel anything real anymore. You think these parties exist because people are liberated? No, they exist because people are starving for something they can't define. So they'll settle for whatever gives them a very 10-second high. Novelty. Okay. So the lack of commitment is there. It's been fueled into how you watch streams, how you watch little clips and reels. Your attention span is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, which creates a disconnect between creating very well connected sexual relationships with multiple people, right? That will lead to something like orgies or tantric meditation circles. If your attention span is that of a fucking gnat, you think that you're going to be able to hold space for 4 women while they talk about their emotions, your 4 girlfriends. If your attention span is that of a gnat, it's likely not going to happen. Okay. So let's talk about this ecosystem. Now, it's not your fault. It's not your fault if your attention span is that of a fucking gnat. Okay. And you can't even get a single girlfriend. Okay. Let's talk about it. What is fueling this? Well, Pornhub is the number 8 most visited site in the world. Okay. The average person watches porn in their formative years before ever touching a real human body. Men are being trained to associate connection with voyeurism. Think about that for a moment. Women are being indoctrinated to view sex as performative, exchangeable, and transactional. And then add to that Tinder induced dating burnout, hookup culture that left people emotionally disemboweled, social media that makes everyone feel simultaneously disposable and unworthy. And you've got a cocktail for exactly what we see. Parties full of people who can't make eye contact without a substance in their system. I want you to think about that for a moment. So if you could have a healthy, intense orgy with women and men that you so desire, would it ever be anything that we see on FetLife or any other fetish site for that matter? Possibly not. Well, I am Dr. Keely DuBois, KeelyDuBois.com, eroticpsychology.org. I'll be coming live every Wednesday. And for those that are unfamiliar with my work, please go to Medium. You can read thousands and thousands of articles. Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing you guys. Thank you for bearing with me. This is my first ever. We're using a new software, so I have no idea if this is even getting live streamed. But I hope you guys have a great day. Make sure to really question the reality around you and know there's no failure. There's only feedback. All is well, and you have nothing to prove about yourself. And you'll go about your day in a relaxed and easy fashion. Have a good one.